Apologies everyone for no mic audio during qualifying. Just thought it'd be easier to wait and go get my other controller. Just so people could actually see our qualifying. Ava just over 3/10 clear of 2 Ferraris. And Frico Toxic. All very close on 6.9s. Who are we waiting on? And the game has let Sharif go out to do a lap, even though the timer is finished. This is a newborn Codemasters. Very nice to see. Glitches are always present. If you're watching this, Sharif, it'll be easy to just retire. You're going to be P15 anyway. And the game will put you at the back. So if you are here, I would just retire. Okay, lap so far from Sharif, to be fair, considering that it's not going to count for anything. I would assume the game will still put him P15. Oh no, I think he has decided to hit retire. So confirmation is Ava on pole, huge margin back to Rocky and Arjon, and 2 Ferraris, Frico Toxic and the Haas sitting in just behind them. Tom H and Nelly make up row 3, Begazord and Hutchie row 4, Frico Sammy and Gmo rounding out the top 10. Bob Sada, Neuropirate, Vico, Brother Adam and Sharif will all start outside the top 10, or will get the free choice of tyre compound, albeit it's not going to make too much of a difference around here. It's still very much a one-stop. They will just probably have the softer tyre at the end. See if any of those 5 can make moves towards the end of the race. There's overcast, however, as we come in to the race. Could we see that classic Brazilian weather play a factor again? Let's begin formation lap, and so obviously everyone inside the top 10 starts on the soft compound tyre. Then Bob Sada, Neuropirate and Vico have all gone for mediums, Brother Adam and Sharif opting for the hards. So I would assume that those 5 who put the tyres on outside the top 10, even though it's overcast, I imagine that, especially if someone put hards on, they imagine that it's probably not going to rain. It's definitely not going to rain early on. Vico leaving a bit of a gap between him and Europire in front. Very interesting to see what strategy some of these drivers choose. It is an easy one stop, this race, for those inside the top 10, but it's whether they choose the mediums or the hards. So the hards around this track can go around about 30 laps, and the mediums can go around about 20. So, and to be fair, the softs you can take the softs around about 16 laps. So, if rain does arrive, you know, there is the possibility that every single driver can easily make it. Nearly half the race on their respective tyres. As you can see, the strategy says lap 13 to 15 for the hards. Probably not the best option. Just wait for the drivers at the back to pull into their grid spots. Can't see the lights. 3, 4, 5, using the noise. And the green in Interlagos, and Ava gets an okay start, and Ferrari can get alongside him. The time page mess up for Ava, keeps the lead going into turn 1. 2 Ferraris who make contact, and does well. Arjun not to spin. Freaker Toxic has managed to get up into P3 in the middle of all that. There's a Mercedes off in the background as well. Everyone ghosting all over the place, and impossible to see who's actually gone where. I think Freaker Sammy's up into P6, and Gmo has made his way up into P7. The two Renaults have made excellent starts on the medium compound tyres as well. Bit of a chaotic start, and the scene Hutchie, I think, has damage to the back was the Mercedes who went off, and Arjon from, I think Arjon was on the front row, and the two Ferraris. Position changes. No, Arjon was P3, but Arjon down to P10. Awful start for him. Frico Sammy and Gmo both making good places, but we've got at the front. Now his time page is messing up. Car's still ghosting. So we have Arden trying to put a bit of pressure on Vico, of course, on the mediums. Arden trying to make the move, and Arden gets the move done. Back up to 9th. Bergazord also having a look, very opportunistic. And Bergazord, Vico shuts the door, going into the middle sector, takes the racing line. And holds on to that P10. Oh, Bergazord runs into the back of Vico, slightly there, I think. Let's see, so Ava and Rocky have stayed in the positions that they started in. Freaker Toxic faded one position into P3, Nelly up into P4 after starting 6th. Thomas stayed where he is. Freaker Sammy up from 9th to 3rd. Jim up from 10th to 7th. And Bob Sarder up from 11th to 8th. And then Arden dropping back to 9th. Vico up 3 places into 10th. Bergesord losing 4 down into 11th. For Bergesord and Vico through the curve to Sol. DRS is enabled. Vico has the DRS. Bergesord does as well. Bergesord has the DRS already. Just the start of lap 2. He has made the move up into P10. Vico made a decent start. Those mediums not looking too fired up at the moment, or as fired up as he would like them. See, are there any breaks? There are already breaks in DRS beginning to form. Nelly being one of them who does not have DRS. Freaker Toxic in front of him. Same for Bob Sarder, who does not have DRS from Gmo. Top 3 beginning to pull away slightly here. Any moves further back. Europire getting fairly close to Vico. Nothing on the table there. Begazord was also getting close to Arjon. So we've got Gmo going side by side with Frico Sammy, and Gmo gets the move done up into 6th place. So excellent start from Gmo. With Sammy looking to come back at him into Ferradures. Not going to be close enough. Sammy gets a little bit of a wiggle. Yeah, no harm doing there. Nelly really beginning to drop back from the free in front of him. Ava has managed to break out of the DRS of Rocky. And is that going to present an opportunity to Frico Toxic in the hats? Now that he knows the Ferrari in front has lost that DRS. Or has he? Yeah, he's just missed out of it, as Rocky. Whether using a lot of DRS, Rocky, I imagine, to get, and which he has, to make sure that he retains that DRS. Back to Bob Sada, Arjon and Begazord now getting really close as Begazord then loses it on the inside of the curb, but Arjon has almost lost it as well. Again, does really well to catch the car mid-corner. And he's ended up losing the position to Begazord, and probably a bit of relief to Bob Sada in front. The two behind him both made mistakes. Helps him survive for another lap on his medium compound tyres, as he needs to try and keep within that DRS of Sammy in front of him. Gmo after getting past it. Sammy needs to close up, already needs to close up 2 seconds to his teammate. Tom and Nelly in front of him, Nelly falling even further back as well. Rocky again not able to have DRS, and Ava looking very strong through that infield section of the circuit. Here comes Frico Toxic with the overspeed. Gained a lot there going into turn 1, as is how powerful the DRS around this circuit. Now down the Retro Posta towards the Esquina del Arco. Frico Toxic looks on the outside. He's going to go the long way round and gets it done very clean. Very nice move. And it's up into P2. Now he get after Ava in the lead and bring down that 5/10 gap to try and get over Ava's DRS as Rocky nearly runs into the back of him. And very close for comfort there was the Ferrari with the Haas. Toxic just gaining enough. Will he be able to, he's not going to gain enough on this lap to get within the DRS of Ava, and Ava still has the round about equal on ERS. So yellow flags for Brother Adam in sector 3, in sector 2, sorry. And Frico Toxic very nearly getting within the DRS of Ava. Again, that happens, there's a lot of ERS to do it, and it's really retain it with how quick Ava looks through that middle part of the circuit. So still got Tom still stuck behind Nelly. And further back, Frico Sammy's managed to retain the DRS to Gmo. Sammy still has a very healthy amount of ERS, to be fair, as well does Sammy. Using Gmo as a bit of a pulley to try and get away from Bob Sada. But at the same time, he's just dropping further back from the top 5. Begazord only 3 tenths behind Bob Sada now. Arjon has dropped out of the DRS of Begazord in front. And the top 5 really beginning to pull away at this stage of the top 5. From Rocky, is Rocky going to go for a remove on Frico Toxic to retake that second place, not using any ERS? That's how powerful the DRS is, and he's going to have a small look into turn 1, not quite doing on that occasion. Got further back, Begazord has got past Bob Sada. Got back down to P9 on those medium compound tyres. Both drivers, however, out for DRS. But Bob's going to try to come back at him. Bob down the inside, keeping it very clean. He's still side by side, up towards Ferradura. Basil just about manages to hold on, and as well in amongst all that, in front of them, Freaker Sammy got back past Gmo as well. And Sammy, amazingly, hasn't actually used DRS to make that move, so unless Gmo made the mistake, Sammy has made that overtake on pure DRS. We're now 4.5 seconds though behind the cars in front. Again, we look back. Ava just beginning to pull away. Is Rocky this time going to get close enough? Go on board with the Ferrari. Pulls to the outside of turn 1. He's going to have to go the long way round. But Freaker Toxic is still there on the inside. And backs off Freaker Toxic. Went for the switch back, and now with the ERS, with the DRS, down the retro poster, and easily pulls back in front of the Ferrari and retakes that P2. And that is the thing while making that move into turn 1, you leave yourself very, very vulnerable down the retro poster, down towards the Skid del Lago, that if you use too much of your ERS, then you don't really have a lot to defend with if you don't have the DRS, which is what Rocky's just found out pretty much the hard way. He nearly loses the back end, and that puts Nelly right behind him. Freaker Toxic very nearly now able to break that DRS, not quite able to do it. On board with Nelly. Is Nelly going to try and go for a move on Rocky? No, Rocky's deploying his overtake. And boost that Rocky is getting. He's come down to turn 1. Like doing these four beginning to form, well, very much forming a DRS train, and then the guys behind as well, from Sammy in 6th down to, I think that is Neuropyre and P11, are also creating the DRS trains. Nelly has actually managed to get past Rocky into the Skid del Lago, and might be an important move for Nelly. Can you now get after Freaker Toxic, and then maybe after Ava? Now showing some pace, Nelly, after those opening few laps, seemingly struggling to find any grip. And Rocky going very late on the brakes. Let's be careful not to run into the back of any of the cars in front as Rocky at this stage. So we are getting close to the pit stop window as well. Again, Rocky draining that ERS. Wants to get back past Nelly, turn the overtake off. Here we go, pure slipstream and DRS again. Has a little look into turn 1, brakes a lot earlier. Nelly not quite wanting to go for that move just yet. As you have Gmo has came into the pits at the end of just lap 10 to get rid of those soft compound tyres as Gmo, so surely that's going to be for a set of hards, which it is. And Gmo is going to the end. You should easily make it to the end on those hards. Still a very early stop. It's going to give him a fairly big undercut in this race as Arjom comes second driver to pick up a 3-second time penalty for ignoring track limits. And what Gmo is pitting has provided Freaker Sammy with a bit of breathing room, as he now has over a second behind him back to Bergazord in the Alfa Romeo. Again, anyone diving into the pits? No, no one reacting to that early pit stop from Gmo. Again, Rocky burning all that ERS, but it's not enough to get close enough to Nelly at this stage, and Nelly himself is charging up that battery, sitting behind Freaker Toxic, who just is not able to save being at the front of this train. And that's the pain about these trains, is that the leader can't save any. The people at the back can save the most, but the problem with the people at the back is that it's almost impossible to make overtakes because they get so much dirty air. which is probably, I imagine, what Tom is experiencing, because Tom just doesn't seem to get close off any of the corners. So he's clearly struggling with the balance of the rear of his Red Bull through Pinarino. And on this lap though, however, Nelly has dropped a lot. Is a lot further back from Frico Toxic coming out of Junsao on this lap, and Rocky's a lot closer to the AlphaTauri on this lap. Nelly moving over to the right, defending that, holding that higher line, using the camber of the corner. Is Nelly to try and help defend, but it's not worth it as Rocky retakes the position. And then he just didn't seem to get a good enough exit there, did Nelly? Out of the centre S, was using a lot of BRS here as Nelly to have a look, and he puts his car in a gap that was never going to open up, and Tom hits him as well. And Tom has got front wing damage from that, and Nelly went for a gap that was very much disappearing. It was there to go for it, but probably wasn't worth it. Probably a bit of frustration out of a poor exit, and that ends up ruining Tom's race. You know, as what I imagine that would be red front wing damage on the right hand side. Not quite sure. I think that was more Nelly's fault, going for a gap that very much did not exist. Well, it was fading. And then, imagine Rocky probably could have left a bit more room, probably could have saw him coming, but if anything, I would blame that on Nelly. And you see Nelly has came into the pits, I would imagine as well, when Nelly come into the pits, as those softs will be very short, and temperature going through the roof. Thomas obviously came in to change his front wing, as Arjon also follows them in, but they all go for the medium compound tyres at the end of lap 13. That's a little early to come in for those tyres, because I found that the drop-off point for those mediums was the 23rd lap. They really began to drop off. So we have yellow flags as Arjon has... Oh no, I think Arjon might have got the glitch where... Yeah, I think Arjon might have just got the glitch where he glitches outside of the pit lane. Oh, such a shame that that's actually happened to him. He's got Frico Toxic coming to the pits now. End of lap 14. You see his front left looking... surprisingly front left looking really poor. As Rocky also follows him in. Frico Sammy obviously stays out on the other Haas, leaving just him and Ava out on the softs as Frico Toxic goes for the hard, as does Rocky. So going for the harder tyre and pitting later than those behind them. These guys will very much easily get to the end from this stage, so this shouldn't be a problem. So Bob Sardu is now really closing up to Frico Sammy, who I imagine is really beginning to struggle. You clearly see the blisters beginning to form on those softs, the tread just wearing away at this stage. I imagine he's going to have to pit this lap, as will Ava's tyres are looking just as bad. You see the medium runners clearly a lot quicker at this stage than the worn softs. So they're very nearly touching Sammy coming out of Junsao, but Sammy will probably keep to the left at this stage. And Sammy coming to the pitch? Yes, he is. As Ava is also in. Ava goes for the mediums. Now in that position where the mediums can go to the end. Frico Sammy's Haas crew come out with mediums as well. That promotes Bob Sada into the lead of this race, ahead of Neuropirate and Vico, who are all yet to stop, and Ava has came out ahead of Sharif in the racing point, so he's given himself one less car to overtake. He's not under any threat at the moment as Ava in this race. Very, very composed this so far from Ava. So he battles back here, and as you can see, Gmo with that quite large undercut. He bitted on that at the end of that 10 did Gmo, and on those hards just he hasn't really jumped anyone as Gmo in all of that. Frico Sammy is only just behind him. He was pitted 5 laps later. So you have Nelly picking up a 3-second time penalty. He's all further forward, and Ava's already got past Vico, so Ava got a lot of pace on those fresh mediums. Be wary not to burn them out. Well, Ava as quickly as what I imagine that he clearly is, pushing really, really hard. Back Gmo is now just behind Bergazord, Sammy just behind them as well. Sammy of course has the mediums compared to the 3 in front of me were all on hard compound tyres. So can Sammy make a few moves? As Ava sets the fastest lap of 1.9 flat from Ava. That's a very fast lap for race conditions. And see, coming up towards turn 1 though, there goes Sammy on Gmo, and not quite. Gmo able to fight that, and Sammy makes a pretty simple move up into P10. Now has his eyes set on Bergazord in front. And Bergazord runs very wide, so that will definitely pick up a track limit warning. And Bergazord's light as well is flashing for his ERS, and it's flashing very, very late as well. In such an awkward place of the track, so he really does not have a lot to play around with. So this will present Sammy with an opportunity to make another overtake. You know, Anadrum Sao, fresher tyres, overtake still deployed for Sammy. Bergazord keeps to the right, Sammy cuts underneath, and even before the start finish line, Sammy cruises on by and back up into P9. Cuts turn 2, however, that will be another track on the warning definitely for that one. But Sammy back up into P9 into a net P5 is Sammy, so and only has Rocky is only 1.8 seconds of the road, so good opportunity there. Sammy's got some really decent points for Haas. Move back to the front as Neuropirates has managed to get past Bob Sada. Ava has caught up to these two. This is yellow flag in the middle sector, and it's Gmo on the hards who has spun. It's not going to cause any safety car. We've got Bob Sada coming back at Neuropirate, wanted to retake the lead of this race. Down to turn 1. And Sada gets the move done. Ava just behind, wanting to keep his nose clean with Ava in the middle of all this. As Neuropirate makes a big mistake coming out of the corner. Ava cuts underneath the racing point. Is he going to look for Bob Sada as well? He's got to be careful here as Ava making these moves. He's up into second place. Only one car now between him and retaking that lead of the race. As well, Sammy picked up another 3-second time penalty. That's not going to help Sammy being on 6 seconds after just 19.5 laps of this race. Coming out of Jun style, Bob Sada's ERS light comes on. It's going to be a pretty easy move for Ava to retake the lead. It's not worth fighting this. And Bob knows that. As Ava retakes the lead, as Vico and Neuropirate have jumped into the pits, so they're going for the undercut on Bob Sada. And they're going for the soft compound tyre to the end of this race. So Freako Toxic is currently in net P2, however, is on the hard compound tyres, whereas Nelly behind him, who's having a look at Sharif. Around the outside of Ferraduran, Nelly makes a superb move from Nelly to take P4. Now Nelly is within the DRS of Freako Toxic and is on the mediums compared to Freako's on the hards. So Nelly will want to make this move as quickly as he can and then try and pull 3 seconds on the Haas to take P2. I don't think he's going to be catching Ava, who is around about 7 seconds up the road. At this stage, Bob Sada is into the pits, which I imagine will be for the soft compound tyre, which it is for the soft compound of tyre. See, where is... If it wouldn't let me want to stare at the Renault pit crew. Nope. Still are. Let's see, this is Neuropirate, who pitted a lap earlier, and he is going to have undercut Bob Sada. It's a great outlap for Neuropirate, and it's got him into P9. This alternate strategy, at the moment, this alternate strategy just isn't working. They're not too far though off the cars in front, but it'd be easier not to squabble with each other and focus on coming at the cars in front on the mediums and the hards, rather than squabbling away over 2 measly points when they could be battling over 6 or 7 points. So we've got Sharif is now getting rid of the hards as well. Sharif goes to the soft compound tyre as well. Most people further up, and think everyone has now made their pit stop. They have. So the provisional running orders, again, Ava leads by just under 7 seconds ahead of Freako Toxic, and Nelly are now having a scrap over P2. However, Nelly does have 3 seconds worth of penalties, and sort of 5 seconds back to Rocky. There's a 3-second gap to Freako Sammy, who has 6 seconds of penalties, and that's really going to hurt Sammy at the moment. That would drop Sammy all the way down to P9. Even though he's running in P5, so he really needs a few people behind him to get some penalties. So Sammy only needs to pick up the pace if he wants to hold on to that P5. So Neuropirate already making a move on Bergesord into turn 1. And Bob Sada just behind them as well, and that is the power of the fresh softs compared to the hards. This Bergesord going to try and come back at Neuropirate. It's not got the speed to do it. So Neuropirate up into P7. Tom H up next for him. Now, can he use this as an opportunity to try and get away from Bob Sada, who's also on that alternate strategy? Coming through Magulio, and I'm starting any pushing Begazord as well for Junsao. So they're already getting the move done on the Alfa Romeo. Is Neuropyric going to be able to get the move done on Tom as well? Into turn 1. Neuropyric gets the move done. And Neuropyric is up into P6, what is provisionally as well P5 once Sammy's penalties get applied. However, Tom is going to come straight back at him. It's Tom's going to swoop around the outside. And Tom gets the position back again on those mediums, so Tom used all of his ERS to make that move. That's not what Neuropyre would have wanted. See him make the move and be overtaken immediately afterwards. Probably wished he might have put up a bit more of a defence of that. Knows that might end up costing him an opportunity to go get after Rocky and maybe chase a podium in this race, actually. These two on the softs, if they can clear these guys quick enough. Because Nelly has 3 seconds as well. So Neuropyre this time gets ahead of Tom. This time, can he make it stick? Small lock up. Into turn 1. Looks to have made the move, which he has as well. Nelly has got past Frico Toxic for P2. Both on very high amounts of ERS at this stage of the race. Back Neuropyre has made the move stick. This time on Tom, and now it will be Bob Zarda's turn to get past the Red Bull. See, up the hill. Let's see, Bob Sarda gives Tom a big old squeeze going into turn 1, but he gets the move done. Very aggressive from Bob to get that one done. Needs to be aggressive sometimes. And so that move didn't want Tom coming back at him. Yeah, he has got it done. And back to this, Freaker Toxic. On those hards, looking very good on those hards at the moment. Is able to keep with Nelly, the short nature of this track. It's quite easy to follow cars around this track and retain DRS. It just makes it impossible to pull away. That's why being the car in front probably isn't the best bet. Sometimes, as you see, Freaker Toxic not even using any ERS. This is literally just the DRS. He's going to come back and Nelly into turn 1. Freaker Toxic makes a simple move on the Alpha Tauri. And again, Nelly just does not get a good exit from the corner. And he's not close enough to have a go. As Begazor picks up 3 seconds for ignoring track limits. The yellow flags. I think that's Gmo is spun again, as Gmo is having a pretty dismal day in the Red Bull. So you've got Neuropyre and Bob Sarda have now caught up to the back of Furico Sammy. And this should be a pretty simple move on these soft compound tyres. For these two, they will want to clear Sammy as quick as they can. And see, up towards turn 1, Neuropyre going to go the long way round. It's good defending over Sammy into turn 1. as well to hold off the racing point. Now down towards Messina Delago. Is he going to get close enough? Is Neuropirate not on this occasion? It's Sammy, who actually has more VRS at this stage than the two behind him. Sammy manages to hang on. And P5 as well, though. Sammy with those 6 seconds is really, it's going to send Sammy all the way back to P8 at this stage of the races. Toxic has left the session. Better be peering online. Quickly invite Toxic back. Oh, that's going to hurt Toxic in terms of trying to beat Nelly, and that may result in him falling behind Rocky as well. Look back to this battle again. Neuropirate again, just Sammy's time. All three of these drivers have their lights flashing. Neuropirate looking for the move. Sammy again defends really well, does Sammy. Neuropirate nearly going off the track, and he's just not able to make the move, but Sammy picks up another penalty. Does Sammy? That's really going to hurt him. Freaker Toxic has also joined back. He had to take control of his car, and he's just falling back from Nelly, and this is really, this might end up gifting Nelly that P2 and saving him that penalty. And so Freaker Sammy makes a small mistake coming out of Junsao, and that's going to promote the opportunity. You're probably getting very close as they come up the hill. Go side by side. Is Bob Sada going to make it 3 wide? It's nearly as they come up into turn 1, but as both Neuropirate and Bob Sada get past Rico Sammy, who is beginning to struggle on those mediums, probably getting frustrated with the penalty. Bob Sada has just made the move on Sammy. He's going to go round the outside of Neuropirate, and he spins him, does Bob Sada, and taking evasive action does Sammy. And I imagine from the offboard of that very much looked like Bob just turning in on Neuro. Needed to leave a lot more room there to Bob. Might see a penalty coming his way for that one. And forward, I think Freaker Toxic has fell out of the 3-second window of Nelly, and whereas Neuropirates dropped all the way back down to P10. That's so disappointing for him. This might well have just taken a bit of a sting out of anything that we have left in this race, because there doesn't seem to be a lot more people with DRS. Tom has managed to get within DRS of Sammy in front of him. Oh, Tom does not need to risk anything for an overtake on Sammy, who has those 9 seconds, and I think those 9 seconds will actually drop Sammy out of the points at this stage of the race. Yeah, it'll drop Sammy all the way down to P11, so he's going to miss out on points at the moment as Sammy. It's not for him. Just going to move back to Freaker Toxic, who needs to find half a second if he wants to take P2 away from Nelly. He needs to maybe hope for another 3 seconds for Nelly, or he needs to hope that those medium tyres go off. They are looking a bit, they're looking not very nice on those tyres on Nelly's Alpha Tauri. It's really been pushing them to make the move, and he's got very, very lucky with the disconnection for Freaker Toxic, but at the same time, on this lap already, Freaker has managed to gain 2/10 on Nelly. Are those mediums just beginning to die away? Because Nelly has been on... Nelly pit was one of those who pitted very, very early for those mediums. They do go off, and they do have a very steep drop-off. Not as steep as the softs, but it's still steep enough. This Rico Toxic is 2 tenths up on his lap as well. He is really pushing to get within that 3 seconds of Nelly. This comes across the line. It will be a new PB for Rico Toxic, a 9.5. He doesn't have to worry about his tyres. He knows he can make it to the end. And see, just through the first few corners, getting nearly 3 tenths on Nelly, who is really, really beginning to struggle on those tyres. Could this still be, even after disconnect, the P2? Just needs a little bit more. So if yellow flags in sector 2, and that is Sharif and Vico have both gone off, and I think have both evaded any damage. They have both evaded any damage, so not quite sure what happened there, but those two might need to pit again. They have no visual damage, but the tyres will not be feeling very nice after that. That will also, I imagine that will end up actually giving Sammy some points in this race now, with those two have been taken out of the picture. Okay, back to the Toxic has got within that 3 seconds of Nelly. If this is going to be very, very close to P2. And so we've got Ava out in the lead, and Ava's actually lost a second on this lap. It's Ava to Nelly behind him, so has Ava made a mistake on this lap? Maybe. Don't want to make a mistake at this stage of the race, but on the final lap, it looks like after what can only be described as a dominant performance has been today from Ava, hasn't scored any points so far this season. He's going to kick off his point scoring for season 3 with a big 25 points here at Interlagos. And it comes up to Bico de Paco for the final time. He's got the Mercedes in front of him. I think is pushing to get the fastest lap is Hucci. Rounds the final corner. Ava up to the line. Has 0 points on the board. It's going to change the day. Ava wins in Sao Paulo. Superb result for Ava. And see who's going to get P2. Nearly crosses the line. The gap is... oh no, wait, because Freaka Toxic disconnected. He's going to get pushed back because of the disconnect, so I imagine it will be Freaka Toxic P2 once the timing gets fixed, because he is disconnected. Nelly will probably be P3, Rocky will be P4, Bobsada on the alternative strategy comes home P5, Thomas came home P6, Begazor just missing out on Tom. A 500 is 7th. Sammy has managed to get 8th. Neuropirate finishes 9th. Sharif takes the final point. Vico finishes 11th. Hucci will finish in 12th. Brother Adam is 13th. Jimo is 14th. And Arjon 15th. And last of the finishers. It is Ava for first time. And his first ever points with a commanding victory. Very 2011 Sebastian Vettel-esque from Ava today. Class above the rest around this circuit. Pole by over 0.3 of a second. Finishes ahead of everyone by over 7 seconds. Does obviously say Nelly and Rocky on the podium. I do believe the Freaker Toxic will get P2 reinstated due to disconnecting, which I think adds on 6 seconds to your overall race time if you disconnect. Yeah, he can probably be reinstated to P2. Bob Sardo, superb recovery from P11. Driver of the day. Very well done to Bob. Superb recovery on that alternate strategy to finish P5. Tom P6, Begzor P7, Sammy P8, Neuropirate P9, Sharif P10, Vico, Hutchie, Brother Adam, Gmo, Arjon round off the results, and Gmo with the fastest lap. So, thank you everyone for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Very exciting race around Brazil. That's everything from me. Goodbye.